Did you guys have every 15 minutes at your school?
What? No.
Oh, what do you mean, what? I had to write you a letter when I died.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, I saw that. It was a very traumatic experience for me. And both of us, I think.
Yeah.
A Grim Reaper took her from the class. I'm not even lying, like literally dressed, they were dressed up, took her from the class because of a car accident,
because every 15 minutes someone dies from a drunk driving related accident.
And she had to write me a letter of like,
if I die,
I love you so.
I
Ellie Lovey was how it started, because that's what my name is in her phone to this day. And
wait, why?
Just to like bring awareness of drunk driving. I don't know. Yeah,
why did you get to die?
I don't know. I was picked. I was
like sobbing in fucking third period, like, oh, my best friend is dead.
Yeah, it was crazy. Really weird. So you didn't have that.
No. But they did do the, like, reenact the drunk driving car crash on the football field right before prom.
We did that too.
That whole ordeal. But not the 15 minutes
That's when she was resurrected, like Jesus.
I came back for that part.
Yeah. No, we did that, but not the Grim Reaper thing. I kind of think that's cool, though.
I didn't like it.
They took us away, and we had to give them our phones, and we couldn't talk to anyone, and like couldn't be in contact for like.
I feel like they should have asked for consent.
I think they did.
Did you guys do a Holocaust reenactment?
Oh my gosh!
I know. I think
that's
so bad. I need to know if they still do it.
Real.
I swear to God, they split half the grade into Nazis and the other half were Jews.
No.
I swear to God, and you weren't allowed to talk to each other.
No.
I swear on my life. I swear on my life, I could call someone from my high school right now, or my middle school, was in middle school, and ask them, and they would be like, oh yeah, it's so questionable.
Where did you go to school?
Wakanda, Illinois.
Africa?
Black Panther, baby. I know, that's what everyone says. Wakanda forever.
What in the world are they doing in Illinois?
Girl, I know. I'm like, we probably shouldn't have been doing that.
No, probably not.
No.
That's crazy. Well, anyway.
Okay, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Polite as Fuck. We're jumping right in. We have a guest this week. Our friend Hailey is here. We have a really exciting episode for you guys. Erica and I have been talking a lot about like compatibility and sexual history, and we always like to bring like tarot into it. And so when we thought about tarot readings, Erica's mind really jumped to a few weekends ago.
She always like credits me like Erica's friend.
I do that too. I do a lot. She goes, we have the same group of friends. And
you were also there.
I was also there. And I'm like, no, I'll give it to you. She's like, okay, fucking weirdo.
Weirdo ass.
Yeah, so dumb. But Hailey hosted a tarot reading night. Only girls. You had such a cake.
That's not for boys.
No, it's not. They wouldn't even know what to do. Are you kidding me? And so we wanted you on the podcast to kind of talk about that. So welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Of course,
yeah,
always. I'm so excited. But I thought maybe we could start off with like a little bit of your history, how you got into tarot and astrology, and like your own journey with it before we dive into like the fun stuff. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, what do you want to know? How did I get started reading tarot?
Yeah. I mean, have you always felt, okay, for example, like my younger sister who we've had on the podcast before, and she has always been like tarot into this kind of astrology kind of stuff. And so have you always felt like
called to that?
Yeah, called to that? Or did you have like an experience?
Wait, I think I shared this at the dinner party. Maybe I did. I don't know if either of you know this, but I learned to read tarot because my mom does tarot readings.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandpa, her dad, did tarot readings. His mom did it.
Oh, wow.
Like it's in
the family. Yes. And we're Welsh. My dad's from Wales. And there's like a lot of stories about Welsh witches. So yeah, it's in my family history to read tarot. So yeah, I feel like I learned it from my mom. My mom is like very, very spiritual. Always has been. And then like used to read my tarot cards, like would read my friends. My friends would like want to come over in high school and like read our tarot, and she would do it. She's really, really good at it. like better than I am. And
She maybe
a
has a
lot
few
better.
years on you,
Yeah.
so that's okay.
Yeah. Credit mom.
But yeah, my mom taught me. And
That's
then
so cool.
I don't know, I was really nervous to read anyone else's for a long time. And then during the pandemic, I got like more into it and started to like read my own a lot, and then I felt more comfortable with it. So I was like, okay, I can read other people's. And then same thing with astrology, really, I just got really into it during COVID, and I just taught myself everything I know about astrology.
Your COVID activity.
Yeah, it really
Can
was.
we define like what is tarot and what is astrology and
Yeah.
what does this mean?
Okay, so astrology, I would say, is like, you know, it has to do with your star sign and all of that, but it basically has to do with like where you're born and what time you're born and what is going on with the planets at that exact time. But astrology is essentially like the study of patterns.
Okay.
So it's just people, and it's been around for a really, 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 really long time. But astrology is like the study of patterns, and like basically when there's predictive astrology, which like you can look into the future and like look at where the planets are going to be at a certain time, and that is basically based off of like where those planets were historically, like what was going on then. You can kind of assume something similar for the future for predictive astrology. And then there's like, I can't remember what exactly it's called, but astrology that like basically is more so a guide to yourself and like your inner world, kind of like any type of personality test, like a Myers-Briggs or something like that. I mean, I like kind of use it for both. So yeah. And tarot, I don't even know how to describe it, honestly. Like, it's basically like I like to think of everything as like a tool to get to know your inner world. I think that tarot, it's obviously a deck of cards it's kind of similar to like a true deck of cards. I actually don't know how many cards are in a tarot deck. It's I think more than 52, but you have like a major and a minor, and the major would be like your kings, queens, all of that. And the minor is like true deck of cards, like all the cards. And the different symbols in tarot kind of coincide with the different suits in a deck of cards. And
interesting.
I like to think of tarot as a way to kind of probe your mind to kind of get yourself to ask some questions that you maybe like wouldn't be asking yourself. So like I think that anyone can relate to a tarot reading, because it might just be like, oh, well, this card, it represents this, but you'll know more so than the person reading the tarot, like, oh, maybe I should be thinking about that, like in whatever area of your life it relates to.
Do they like go together at all, or they're kind of just like separate?
Well, there's 4 suits, so and it depends on what deck you have. I think in mine it's cups, rings, which rings is like pentacles or coins in other decks, wands, swords, yeah, that's the 4. And they all go together, like they all go with a different element, which kind of is how you can tie it to astrology. Each suit is with a different element. Like cups is water, it relates to emotions. Pentacles is usually like, I think it's earth would be the element, because it's like material things. So those all go together, but the major arcana, they're kind of all not really go with each other. I mean, there's like the sun and the moon, so they go together in that way, but not in any like classification type way.
Okay.
So I am a little confused with the different types of decks, because I know you can get different kinds. And the one, when I was like, you know, into my tarot or whatever, I really wanted to get the same deck that my sister had, which was around like animals, but didn't have like the cups, pentacles, anything like that. So what?
She probably
so
has.
How does that
Are they
work?
just animals?
It was animals, but like the same kind of thing where you would kind of similar to what we did at the dinner party, where you would read and like, you know, she would need to like refer to the book.
Yeah.
And it would be like whatever animal it was, or like even there was one like the egg. It was
my friend has that deck. That's
so what's
not
the difference?
tarot.
Oh, okay. So what is that?
That is, I can't even think of what they're called. There's another name for that.
Okay, so it's something
it's
something
something
like
different, but it's really similar to tarot, but it is something different.
Where you like just look at
yeah. But I mean, there's a bunch of different kinds of tarot decks. They all like kind of they have different art, and there's like tarot decks that are like the Rider Waite I think is like one of the oldest tarot decks, and it has like traditional symbolism in it. So like all the art has different symbolism, and it all kind of relates back to the card. But fun fact, you should never buy your own tarot deck. They should always be gifted to you. I don't know the reasoning behind that, but that is like something that my mom is very like adamant about.
Interesting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll gift you a tarot deck.
We'll just like buy
Especially your first one, like get them gifted to you.
I like, we haven't really talked about this too much on the podcast, and I don't want to go too much into it about like religion and spiritual and like what we believe in, but I find myself very connected to this kind of stuff. I grew up Catholic, and everybody knows Erica grew up Mormon. And I think we've definitely shifted. Yeah. We've shifted away from religion, but I think that there's like a little bit of a, not a calling, but just like a pull towards something. And I feel very like I relate to it in a lot of different ways. I also like the like feminine energy around it, especially like your dinner party that you hosted, like just feeling so connected in this one, like this is what we were here for. I really enjoyed that a lot. So it's nice to know that, okay, can't buy my own tarot card, but it's also not that I like believe in something, but it gives me a little bit of a greater understanding of maybe what is going on. It makes me feel small in the best way, if that makes sense. Like I feel insignificant in the fact that there's so many other things that are going on in the world that I am a part of, but not necessarily like the center of at all times. And that's kind of how I've been viewing it since like doing it, you know, since really being back from Australia, like with my sister and getting to know it a little bit and like talking with friends and family that are interested, and then doing that dinner party. I was like, I like this. I like this a lot. And when there's a fucking bomb ass cake at a party, this is my second time saying this.
That was the cutest cake.
It was so cute.
I know. I'm sure.
Like, she knows how to throw a fucking
I'll have
party.
to share a photo.
Yeah.
Do you have a photo?
I do.
Okay, good.
Yeah, definitely.
I do.
Who gifted you your tarot deck?
This one is from my mom. My first one ever was from my friend Kelly. Shout out Kelly. Who was just here visiting. My first one ever was from my friend Kelly because she like used to love getting her cards read by my mom. So she bought me my first one. We were roommates in college. And then my mom bought me this one. My friend Mandy bought me another one that I have, and Chandler bought me one.
Aww.
Yeah.
Those are so nice.
Yeah, I have a bunch of decks. I don't think I need any more. But
you're like, please don't buy me anymore.
We're like, thanks for coming on the
and to be
podcast.
honest, this one is my favorite. And that's the one my tattoo is.
Yeah, I think this is the one that I
where?
chose.
Oh, I love that.
I love it.
Yeah, but it was fun to have the different decks to like kind of be like,
Choose
what
from,
one
yeah.
do you want?
Yeah.
Like, pick your
I think
deck.
most people chose this one, right?
A lot of people picked this one, but did you pick this one or did you pick the Casey Musgraves one?
I think I did the Casey.
The Casey one is
Musgraves.
really fun. It's like really
like that's
bright
fitting.
and colorful and like fun energy.
I picked the one that's dark and has a soul.
Yeah, well, same. That's my go-to.
Okay, so I think we should dive into it because I have so many questions and I'm so interested. But I really wanted, we haven't done like a sexy topic in a while, so that's why I wanted it to be around like compatibility and just like what maybe we're interested in. I feel like this will help me a lot too. As you guys know, Eric and I are like back on the apps and are trying to like figure
We're out here.
We're out there trying to fucking
Are you
figure
on
it out.
apps?
Oh my god, unfortunately.
So you can also relate.
Yeah, so you definitely can relate.
Yes, I can relate.
So we sent you our birth information. Clearly, I know what I'm talking about.
I was stealing your guys' identities, actually.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Did
just
you do
kidding.
yours too? Do you know?
No,
yours?
I didn't do mine, but I know mine.
Okay.
At least my big six. So you have, I mean, in astrology, yeah, I guess I can just back it up. So yeah, I took your birth time, your place of birth, and then like figured out your birth chart. I will say another thing about astrology is like when you look at a birth chart, there's a house system. And for me, the first thing that I had to figure out when I was getting really into astrology is like which house system I wanted to use. I use whole sign. It was just the easiest for my brain, but also it's one of the oldest. And some of the newer house systems are like a little bit westernized. And I think that if you're going to do something that is in the spiritual realm, most of those things come from other countries. And I think you should pay homage to those countries. Anyways,
I
so
totally agree. I love that.
I do whole signs, but I think that's just important to note. So yeah, I put your whole birth chart in because I think when people think of astrology, they're like, oh, this is my sun sign. Like, is that compatible with like this guy I'm dating who's this other sun sign? And like, really, when it comes to dating and like sex and compatibility, I would say like sun doesn't really matter too much. So
Interesting.
yeah, I think it's more about your Mercury, Mars, and Venus personally, because Venus is kind of where love would be represented in your chart. Mars is like aggression and sexuality and that kind of thing. And then Mercury is communication. So I think that one is pretty important for relationships.
I'm so curious.
I'm like, I
saying about
Let
me.
me make sure I got that right. Yeah, because, you know, what are you going to do if you can't communicate with your lover?
Say it louder for the people in the back.
I think that is the core part of a relationship. But anyways, do you want me to start with...
Erica.
I can either like run through your whole chart or I can be like run through it like that's your sun. But I think it might be interesting. I looked at it. So I looked at your big six and that's kind of what I took notes on. And when I talk about a big six, I think you've probably heard people say like your big three. Maybe you haven't.
No.
Is that sun,
moon, and rising.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so your big three is your sun, moon, and rising. Your big six is those three, so sun, moon, rising, plus Mercury, Mars, Venus. Those are your big six. And they
So
kind
they
of
leave out the
really
most important part.
make up who you are.
Okay.
So I looked at those kind of individually, and then I like kind of was noticing themes in both of your charts, which I thought were really hilarious knowing you guys.
Interesting.
So-
Okay. So tell us how you want to do it.
Okay, I'll do Erica's first,
Okay.
since you said Erica
Yes.
first. Okay, so we know that your sun is in Aries, which
My
we
Aries
love. But, you know, so the book that I was referencing when I was like taking my notes was this astrology book. I have it here, but it says that the Aries journey is to become a selfless leader. And I think that is really relatable because that kind of touches on like Aries are very much natural leaders. Like they're dominant, they're confident, they're like strong, they're big personalities, right?
Yeah.
But
In a good way.
they can be
Thanks.
selfish. And so becoming a selfless leader is kind of the main objective for an Aries, is what this book was saying. So I thought that was interesting. Your moon is in Libra. So your moon represents emotions, like your emotional world, your kind of internal world. And it being in Libra means you really, really like balance. You like things to be balanced. That's really important to you. You can be kind of like even keeled.
What is that face? What do you think?
But
I agree. I think so, yeah.
something that can be a little bit of an issue for you is being a people pleaser and wanting to maintain the balance, so therefore ignoring your emotions and putting other people's first to maintain your
I don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
Oh, God.
Your rising, which honestly, rising can relate a lot to your appearance, which I didn't write that down, but if we want to dive into that, I do have the book and we could crack it open because it is kind of funny and interesting to read that. But it's like kind of how you present to the world, essentially. And your rising is in Cancer. And that means that you present kind of like maternal and nurturing. You can be a little bit sensitive and a little bit moody. Those are the downsides, but that's just the downside of like kind of Cancer in general. So I think like the big three, honestly, to me, there's a lot of like you could have some concerns about being a people pleaser for sure.
I do have some concerns about that.
Like that
I do.
might be a detriment for you, is that you have a tendency to people please.
That's like my biggest conversation in every therapy session, whether that's around work or friendships or relationships. It's like, that's always an issue going on.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. Which is kind of funny though, because your Mercury and your Mars are both in Aries. And Aries like can be a very selfish sign. But I think maybe you need to embrace your Aries S qualities a little bit more to kind of push you out of that people pleasing. But so Aries and Mercury, that's your like house that rules communication, how you communicate. You can be very direct.
Yeah.
Like you can also be potentially a little bit impatient. There's an impatientness with Aries too. But you're also very charming. So you have a very charming way of communicating, and like you're direct, but people find it to be charming. You're not really offensive with your direct.
Okay. Then I'll keep telling you how it is.
Your Mars, which is what, where sex would be, but and aggression, because sex and aggression are very closely intertwined, right?
Of course they are.
So your Mars is in Aries as well, and you kind of go after what you want when it comes to desire and sex, and you get after it, girl.
Yeah, I do. I'm sweating.
And then your Venus.
I love this episode.
Your Venus is in Gemini. And your Venus is like love and how you kind of approach love. Let me see what else. Beauty. It's a very nice sign.
But Gemini is like not, right?
Oh my gosh, no, we cannot. We're not going to be hating on signs here. Especially because you really can't get a like whole look of someone with just their sun. So it's like, well, that person's a Gemini sun and they suck, but you would really need to look at the rest of their chart. I do have least favorite signs. I will not be disclosing them.
Damn.
You might be able to get it out of me later. Which
I will be doing.
You're a Gemini. Being a Gemini, you're a social butterfly. You really like to flirt. It's really easy for you to connect with others. Let's see. I also wrote that, in your, Mercury being in your 10th house, it's in your 10th house, your Aries is in 10th house, so your Sun, your Mercury, and your Mars are in your 10th house. There's 12 houses in an astrological birth chart. And being in your 10th house, it also said that people with their Mercury or their Mars in their 10th house have a tendency to people please.
Oh, great.
Also,
really
with the Aries in there, you can move very, very quickly in terms of love and relationships. You can dive right in. So I wrote down, you need to remember to just kind of slow down. And so the themes I kind of took away from your whole chart together, you gotta slow down, girl. You have to slow down and take into account your own emotions and not just other people's, and like have a little check-in with yourself. Use some of that Aries selfishness to your advantage.
This is really
Does
helpful.
this resonate?
Yeah, I needed to hear this too. I feel like I am really trying that
to slow down
of late, to like take things slowly and to like over communicate. And I feel like I'm not good about checking in with myself, so I'm like checking in with Ellie or other people.
I'm honestly getting like a little emotional about it because I feel like I don't know why. If this has been a weird day. Like if I start crying, I was like, please someone slap me. But I do feel like I see this so much, but I also feel like you should definitely give yourself credit with all of this, because I feel like these past few months you've been putting in like so much work to be like, no, this is what I want. This is what I know is better for me in the long run. Like, I'm not going to just like fall into the same behavior that I've had. I'm not going to like deep dive into that, but I just like, I see it a lot. People pleasing, definitely. But when it comes to like compatibility and relationships, like you've been putting in so much work. And I think that's great because it takes a long time to like reverse behavior in the past,
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I wish I would have had you read this to me like 5 years ago.
Well, I would say I don't think that you would have been ready to hear it 5 years ago, probably.
That's very true.
But I will say, like, I think that astrology can be like a good tool to be like a good reminder. You're like, wait, this actually all resonates, and those are things that I need to kind of keep in check. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna listen to this clip like every week,
over and over and over
What do I have again? What are my problems?
As you fall asleep, I will not be a peeper pleaser. People
peeper pleaser. Whoa,
well, in my sign it says I don't know how to speak, so no, that's very
Any questions?
Spot on.
I'm just curious about other people, really. I want to know, like, how this is different for you and for Ellie and
All right.
what
Then we
that
can
looks
dive
like.
into Ellie's.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Shit.
Okay. So your sun is in Aquarius. And I really liked the like ultimate journey thing of like Aries saying the becoming a selfless leader. I thought that was kind of cool to have like
really
a
cool.
ultimate journey type of connotation. And yours is experiencing ultimate freedom as an Aquarius. So what I wrote down here
There's a lot of words on this paper under my name.
Oh, some of it was Erica's. It's just
Okay.
further down.
I was like,
What? So this part is Erica's.
Okay.
So it's about the same length.
Okay, gotcha.
So experiencing ultimate freedom, but what that really means for you is actually feeling your feelings and becoming free in that way. So Aquarius people have a tendency to be a little bit like aloof and like live in their own heads, but they really don't get comfortable with the emotions. They're not quite fond of them. So, I mean, like, Aquarians also can be very social justice oriented, but they approach things, like, in a very logical manner and not in a way that they are really feeling things. So, kind of getting out of your own head and into your feelings and your body. And that is actually, I'll just give it away, a theme of your whole chart.
Oh.
Great. So, your moon is in Virgo, which is an earth sign. And, you know, earth signs, it's like usually you're grounded, you're practical, you're well organized, those kinds of things. But having a moon in an earth sign, my moon is also in an earth sign. It means that you kind of tend to think your emotions instead of actually feeling them. So you try and like logical approach to things versus like actually just letting yourself feel the emotions of things. Think your way out of your emotions, I guess, is one way to put it. But it also means you're very practical. You can also be kind of critical. So, yeah.
I think she's relating to these things.
The deep breathing and the not smiling.
Your rising is in Sagittarius. And Sag is a fun sign. It's like kind of known as like the party sign. It's also a fire sign. So that's probably why you guys get along well. So yeah, you can be like optimistic, really like, I don't know, just a happy-go-lucky type of person, but you can also be a little bit restless and not like to have some soak it in time, which probably could be some emotional avoidance for you.
I see that.
Based on everything else.
Yeah.
Your Mercury, which is communication, it's in Capricorn. So you're rational, you're practical, you're kind of think about what you say before you say it. But it does mean that you, again, are thinking and not really feeling. So you're usually coming from a place of being super rational, but maybe not speaking your feelings. Your Mars is in Aquarius. So this is actually interesting. So you can be really stubborn when it comes to relationships. You also don't, you know, once again, you're not really letting yourself feel things here, girl. So like I said, it is a theme. But something that's really interesting about Mars being in Aquarius, it means that you might actually like to take a non-traditional approach to relationships, sexuality, anything in that realm, sex in general. Like you're not one for conforming. Yeah. And it's important to you to have a lot of mental stimulation and connection with a lover, so to say.
Definitely.
But your Venus, which is the, like, you know, your love sign there, or your love planet, it's in Pisces, and Pisces is a water sign. So that means it usually is deeply emotional. You're very compassionate. You love very deeply. And you're extremely empathetic, but it can be very much to your detriment. So you need to learn how to set healthy boundaries, because Pisces and Venus, you can very much be taken advantage of in relationships. And so it basically is like your emotional world, I would think of it as like, it's in a freaking castle. There's like a fortress around it. It takes forever to get in. But once you let people in, you kind of lose all your boundaries and will give yourself up before whoever you're in love with.
Okay, well, first of all, this is rude. Second of all,
oh my god, no, not rude.
No, not at all. I really relate to this. Wait. Before I say what I was going to say, is there more?
That just a little bit.
Okay.
I was going to say, so just back to you kind of are attracted to people who live a little bit outside the box. People that like to bend the rules, and you like to have a lot of freedom, even when it comes to your relationships. Or maybe you don't like to, but that is something that may be important to you and you haven't yet realized that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. Yeah,
that's me.
Yeah, that's you.
It's interesting that you say that I'm more of a thinker and that I don't feel my emotions, because I feel like I'm a very emotional person, literally just crying over Erica's birth chart. Are you kidding me? Like, what the fuck? Like, what? But even, especially like a little bit of like turmoil or like anything that's going on in my life, and I'm here like debriefing with Erica, I have to rationalize everything. Like, I'll say a thought or like what I'm thinking, and then I'll be like, but like, and then, but really, I'll like have to like continue on to like make sure that I'm getting like everybody's point of view. That I do think I'm an emotional person, but hearing you say like you're actually living too much in your head and you don't feel, like I don't feel what it is I'm feeling. It's honestly because like I'm afraid to like have my own thought, and like, what about if I don't even know what if I don't know, but there's fear there. I don't know.
Yeah, fear.
So
I mean, it's also scary to feel feelings.
It really is.
Yeah.
And to have I feel this way, and then that be like a point blank statement is very difficult for me. I have to rationalize. But I'm very much in my head.
That checks out.
I was just gonna say, I feel like when you do feel your feelings, you're critical of yourself for feeling those feelings.
Yeah. I think critical was in there somewhere.
Yeah, you got Virgo and Capricorn. Those both can be critical.
I feel like I'm all over the place. Like Erica had like a little bit, but a lot of it tied back to Aries. There's no other
Erica has a fire dominant chart, actually. You actually have a evenly balanced chart of everything with all of the elements. That's a good thing.
Oh, okay. I'm just a mix of everything.
No, that's a good thing. Okay. I'm a little bit more like yours. It seems a little bit all over the place. But yeah.
Interesting.
So interesting.
Is that why we're all friends?
Probably. I mean, I think it makes sense. So your big three, it's air, earth, fire. And then your big three is fire, air, water. And I feel like when someone has a rising sign, and this is just my personal take, astrology people do not come for me. They'd be crazy out here. But I think that when someone has a rising sign that coincides with the same element as your sun, I think you have a tendency to get along really well. And I do actually feel like there are certain sun signs that make really good friends as well. Yeah.
Interesting.
But no, I don't want to say you're all over the place. I mean, I actually think that your chart had a lot. I mean, this big six, there was a lot of themes in it.
It's a lot. I think it kind of goes like I've always been very. I don't know too much, but when I've always searched up Aquarius because that's like the easiest thing, right? Because of your sun or whatever. But I've always been very like I've related to that a lot because of the like outside of the box, like thinking that kind of way. I think that just shows a little bit in my chart, which I agree with. I just wish there was like an answer on like how do I do these things? Like I would love to change, and like I recognize all these things, and I'm also like, what the fuck?
Well, what is your like mission or whatever? Something about freedom.
Experiencing ultimate freedom, but the way to do that is through feeling your feelings.
So you do have an answer.
Yeah.
You just need to work to feel them.
Yeah.
Feel my feelings.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does this like help us in relationships?
I mean, okay, that's like the hard thing. I actually, funny enough, because I am a little, wow, can't even speak, astrology girly. I never ask people I'm dating for their like birth time and birthplace. I wish I would. I was gonna ask. I actually am like kind of ashamed of my interest in like tarot and astrology, and I think it took me a long time to like even read people's cards because I am like a very spiritual person, and I feel a little bit embarrassed by it.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Do you think it's because of the like clout it's getting now?
No, I think it's because like people are so judgmental about it. Like if you're into it, like I feel like, and it could be because it's something that a lot of women are into, and like women's interests. There's just always like, oh, it's kind of stupid. But I don't know. I feel like there's like an association of people being like crazy if they're into this, or like stupid, or I don't know, like just like, and I just feel like I'm actually like a very rational person, and I kind of pride myself on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, I don't know, I just don't want people to be like, oh, she's like that crazy girl. But I'm like woo-woo as fuck. So
You just keep that tucked away.
I just keep it tucked in here.
So you've never done that with any partner? Like looked up their sign?
No.
That's so funny.
Oh, actually, that's not true. One.
Okay. Was it like a long-term relationship? Or...
No, that is a whole other podcast.
Oh, okay.
I guess kind of. We were like together for a couple years, and I've known him for since I was 18.
Mm.
But yeah, I looked it up, and it was really interesting, really telling.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Were you like, oh, this is accurate?
Yeah. It checked out for sure. Mm-hmm.
So would you want to know these things, or you feel like it's better to like know it about yourself?
Before, like...
I don't know if I would want to know these things at a beginning stage of a relationship.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Because I don't want to like have whether I would be doing it on purpose or not. Like I'm not one of those people that like judges people for their sun sign or anything. Like if you tell me what you are, I'm not going to judge you. Like I feel like when you're like Gemini. And like I feel like I had people when I've asked like, oh, when's your birthday, whatever, people are like, oh yeah, I'm a whatever. That's like the worst one. I'm like, oh, I'm not thinking that at all.
Yeah.
But I don't want to even have like a subconscious thought about, oh, they're being this way because of. So, but I do feel like once you're like in a relationship, I think that it could be a really helpful tool. Especially in terms of like, you know, your Mercury, well, how do you guys communicate with each other? Your like Venus, your Mars, like how do these things interact with each other's? You can put birth charts together and apparently see like, you know, if you were in a couple with someone, would you potentially get married? When would it happen? You can see it in the chart. And it all has to do with like transits. So like, if you look up what's going on in the sky today, you will see where the planets are right now and how that relates to your birth chart and how things are like transiting different planets and how that impacts you like for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year. I am like not at the level where I probably could do it, to be honest. I feel like when I talk about this stuff, not only have I been embarrassed about it, but I'm just like not confident with it. I like to tell myself I don't know that much about it. And then I get talking and I'm like, oh my God,
you do. Yeah. Speaking very eloquently.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's really interesting too. Yeah. So you could use it for that. But yeah, I think it's just like having the knowledge about yourself. So it's like, okay, well, if the Mercury thing about communication resonated with you, kind of just keeping that in mind when you're communicating with a new partner, or knowing like, so for yours, like I said, I don't know if it resonates at all, but you know, having the Mars and Aquarius, you like things that are non-traditional. So maybe you have thought that about yourself or like questioned some things when it comes to like sex and sexuality and like, and maybe you haven't really thought that, or you have, and it's something that you've been afraid to explore. And now you could be like, that's actually interesting that you say that because, and like, you know, whatever that means to you.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would use it in terms of early stages of dating.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, like on Hinge, you can put like
your sign, but it's your sun, so I just don't think that holds much weight personally.
Yeah. So is your like it's not mission. What is the thing that you were saying? Like your goal?
I think it said. I don't even know what it
for you then.
Yeah, because since we're both Aries, yeah.
But did you interpret it differently for you?
No, it's very much. Okay. I would say correct. It's spot on. Yeah. But there's so much to each sign. Like we all have a symbol. You are either a masculine or a feminine sign. You coincide with an element. There's crystals. There's a color associated with it.
Oh my God. That's fun. I want to know all those things. But we can talk about it later.
So as far as like compatibility, obviously like we don't, I agree to an extent that I wouldn't want to know this. Actually, no. Okay. I'm going to like just feel how I feel.
Yeah, you could want to know this early on.
I want to know it early.
Yeah, you could. You could want to do that way.
I see the point of like not wanting to, because what you said, like, you don't want to pin it of like, oh, you're behaving like this because of this or this. Like, I can see how that can kind of become a little bit like toxic in a way. To me, I just feel like I would want to know so I can figure it out. Like, you see what I'm trying to say? Like, I would want to know, to like not waste my time a little bit. Would you
then be in your head and overthinking it though? Just knowing
she's trying to rationalize her way out of potential matches.
Exactly. But speaking of matches, besides that, is there even such a thing of like Aries is most compatible with X, or Aquarius is most compatible with that, or because we're so like there's so many different houses and things that, you know, we can like, it can be in this and then your moon and then your rising and all these things, like it's kind of hard to be like, oh, Aquarius and blah, 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 because it's so all encompassing.
Yeah, it's all encompassing. So it really, it's your whole birth chart that you need to look at for compatibility. There's a website actually that's really fun, and you can put in your birth chart, and then you have to kind of search through people. It doesn't pop it up for you, but you can find your celebrity astrological soulmate.
I love that.
I know mine. Both of mine. My female one is Miley Cyrus.
Oh my gosh, fun. I love her.
And my male one is Kurt Cobain, R.I.P.
Oh my god.
Which honestly checks out with the men that I date.
Wait, why can't I think of who that is?
Kurt Cobain?
The lead singer of Nirvana?
I don't know people, okay?
But that is a fun...
I see that. That's
how the heck do you spell
hell.
Kurt Cobain? Is it Kurt or Kurt?
Kurt.
Like K-I-R-T?
K-U. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
He's hot as hell.
Interesting.
Not looks-wise. But
what?
a little
I think
bit.
he's so
no.
It's like that grungy,
similar
like...
to People I Date, but not looks-wise.
No, not.
But, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Stylish. A thrifter for sure.
Yeah.
That's my man.
A thrifter for sure.
R.I.P.
Yes, I know Hailey makes all her clothes and is like a fashion icon.
Honestly,
I can come on and talk about clothes next time.
Yeah.
We got
Every
list.
time,
and how to find
every
your
time
personal
I
style.
see you, I'm like, that's the cutest
And you're like,
outfit I've
actually,
ever
I
seen.
made this, and I actually thrifted it, but then sewed this and did this, and I'm like, what the fuck? You're crazy, girl.
She had a different outfit on before this, actually.
Yeah.
And it was really cute.
And then I got nervous.
And she got nervous, but this is also really cute.
Well, just wait till you see the sweater. I just thrifted it last weekend in LA.
Oh, fun.
Is that a sweater tonight outfit?
Yeah, well, I feel like it's going to be chilly.
Yeah.
It's also part of the outfit.
Oh,
Cute.
I love it. Can't wait.
Okay, so, well, I mean, I can talk about the book that I had, because this might be of interest to you both. Actually, you would really like this one for the questions that you've been asking. Okay, so the book that I read, like, that just kind of breaks down... Honestly, it's like a good guide to astrology. LOL. That's a modern guide to astrology. The Stars Within You is the one that like kind of goes in depth on all the different planets and signs, and you can learn about your birth chart and just about birth charts in general and like what it all means.
Mm-hmm.
But the other book that I was looking at is called Astrology for Real Relationships. So this one, I think you guys would like in terms of all the like compatibility questions and stuff. And it is hard to answer without knowing someone else's information, because this book is really like if you had someone else's birth chart, you could read this. So this book has 3 sections. There's Friends and Chosen Family. And it touches on each of the signs and then where, like, what planet is in what sign. So like Sun and Scorpio, all that. But then it also touches on what, if it's in a certain house, what that means. Because what houses the planets are in also means something. So for yours, for your Mars, which is the planet that rules sex and aggression, I wrote this down that you guys both have similar energy in the signs that your Mars is in. So yours is in Aries and yours is in Aquarius, as to like what it means to have that planet in a certain house. So yours is in the 10th house, and things that relate to Mars in Aries and Mars in the 10th house, it was very similar, which was really interesting. And then for yours is in your 3rd house, and it was the same thing. So like things that it was saying about Mars in Aquarius and having Mars in a 3rd house, it was very similar, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
But the house placement also means something. So there's so much to it. It's like layers upon layers.
It's like hard. I think that's what gets people's, because I think sometimes, even me, I want like an exact answer. I want like this to this, and that's just not really how it works.
No. And I think that's what gets people to be like, I don't believe in astrology. Because they're like, you can't just like box me into something. And it's like, well, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Well, we're not. So.
Yes.
But I looked specifically for Mars in here because I know we wanted to touch a bit on sex, and I looked at look at that. And I looked at hanging out. The other section's hanging out and dating, and then the other one is long-term relationships. So you could read it like for each stage of dating someone. Where is it? Let me get to it. Sorry.
No, you're good. We can cut out anything.
It's super easy.
Okay, so the Mars section, it's like when it comes to sex and dating, Mars is the hunter. It governs our physical body, what we do with it, and the energy behind that action. It presides over dancing, running, and all manner of getting sweaty, whether solo, with a partner, or in a group. Mars determines the sexual type that our bodies crave, the chemistry we share with the others, and our confidence as we go about putting ourselves out there and getting our sexual needs met. So yeah, personal accountability or accountability to the body is an important part of sex. So really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Mars, you know, it's ruling sex, baby. The sign or the sign it rules is Aries. So your Mars, you have Aries in Mars, and that's like its home. So it shows up very true. Yeah.
I love sex.
Aries, very sexual sign. Aries and Scorpio, sexual.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I know. Say less.
I feel like, though, it's interesting because, like, growing up Mormon, I felt so much shame around that.
Yeah.
And, like, I've really allowed myself to embrace it. And I feel like that is where I get a lot of my confidence, too.
Yeah.
Is from being in that energy.
Yeah, like feeling sexual. That checks out, like, with your Aries and Venus. I feel the same, but my Mars is actually in Cancer, which is a little emotional sign. Basically, it just means that, like, I kind of need to have an emotional connection with someone to want to be sexual with them, which I do find to be true.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, sex. You can have sex alone, so
you're good.
There is a section in here. It's like how to work with the planet. So this is interesting. Strive to stay in your body in relation to sex, which is probably important for you because you're a lot upstairs, and when you have a tendency to be like a little bit disconnected to your feelings and your emotions, it usually means you're a little bit disconnected from your body.
Oh, yeah.
Because you feel your, like, actually physically feel your emotions.
Yeah.
So if you're a little bit too much up there, you can't have, like, the physical sensations as much.
This is why we had an episode about this recently, and I've been thinking a lot about this around sex on a first date and how we felt about it. Go back, listen to that episode. It's really great. But I have had like struggling like feelings about this because of like the way that the world views sex versus the way that I do. But I feel like this is spot on because sometimes I prefer to have sex on the first date to like let it go because I will be thinking about everything until that happens, until I like just like embrace that side of things.
Well, I think that also has to do with your like non-traditional views on sex. Probably, right?
Yeah.
Is like you want to have sex on a first date.
I do.
And you feel like, you feel like that's frowned upon, but you know.
Because I want to know. I just want to know, and I want to.
If that's what you want to do it, girl.
I know I should.
Yeah,
I do. Actually, I should. Bitch, I do all the time. Are you kidding me?
I know.
I should. Okay, I'm excited. Let's dive into it. I
can read your guys' little paragraphs if you want.
I kind of want to. Yeah, I want to know
for your Mars placements.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so yours is in Aries and yours is in Aquarius. So we'll do yours first so Aries is also the first sign in astrology. So that's like the start of the new year in astrology.
Wait,
I don't know if you knew this.
I did. I wasn't you.
Yeah.
Ellie was like, "Why are you first on every single list? Like every website that I'm going to, it's Aries." And I
That's
was like,
why.
Getting so frustrated.
That's why.
And Aquarius is like last. I was getting so mad. I was like, it's not even Aries season. Why are you at the top of the list? And Erica goes,
Yeah, it should be.
because we're number one. And I was like, oh,
We are.
And
more
it
ways
really
than
upset.
one.
And it really upset me. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's why. So everything you'll read, it'll be in like the astrological calendar order.
Yeah. Well,
So Aries is always first, and Aquarius is towards the back because you're almost at the very end of that.
whatever.
Oh my gosh, it has nothing to do with what that means about the signs.
I love it.
Okay, so Aries and Mars. This is Mars's natural placement, making it a very strong one. These people are assertive, dominant, and energetic. They can be quite irritable and pretty bad at hiding it. They have a natural magnetism and a strong sex drive. They have strong athletic ability in and out of bed. I meant to write that down and read it to you because I do believe that to be true. I don't know about the in bed.
I do believe that to be true.
I think that you're very athletic. Out of bed, I don't know about
Oh
the
my
in bed.
god, that's hilarious.
They're also enthusiastic and hot-tempered, quick to feel desire, and equally quick to get over it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all
you
of
could get
these.
the ick really easily with them.
I can't. Immediately, I never want to speak to you.
Yeah,
again.
basically. You can be like, see you later.
Yeah. Okay, well, this is good info.
Now you're about to have to search for mine because it's
No,
in the
it's
fucking
right
back.
People with Mars and Aquarius are open-minded and can vacillate between being very experimental and having a solid sexual routine. They are motivated to make relationships happen, but they are not the best at compromising. They have a really varied type, and it's easier for them to maintain interest when things take a more surprising route. They don't need relationships to take a traditional trajectory in order to be happy.
Interesting. I think that's like, yeah, spot on. I think that it's interesting though, because like I do crave a relationship, but is that because like I crave a relationship for me or because I crave it because that's like what is supposed to happen? You
That,
know?
I think, is something you should probably ask yourself.
I think I need to do therapy needs to help me with that one.
She needs to sit with that.
Yeah.
Sit with yourself, yeah. I feel like Mars and Aquarius, you should be like kind of kinky, like freaky.
I don't want to get into it.
And if you're not, maybe you should try something.
Well, I think
It's a good rec.
I do, like, not to get too much into it. I think I've talked about this a little bit on the podcast in my previous, like, really, like, long-term relationship. The main reason why we weren't compatible is because we were not compatible in the bedroom, and it was not
preach.
okay. Like, it was just not okay, and it was not fitting for me. And I think like I'm in a like very healthy spot now because I'm single and I can literally control whatever the fuck I want to do. But when I am thinking about a relationship and when it comes to like sexual compatibility, I'm looking for someone that can be as open-minded as I am.
Yeah.
And if they're not, like, I don't...
I mean, I think that this says that is very important to you, right?
It is, yeah. And, like, I feel like I know that, but I also, like, I just so sometimes want to fit inside a box. Like, if I'm interested in someone and they're, like, not into it, I want to be like, oh, it'll be fine. And then we get into it, and I'm like, it's not fine.
No,
I don't
that seems
it.
like something that is, like, very important to you, to your core, based off of this.
Kinky bitch, what can I say?
As a great rapper once said, certified freak, 7 days a week.
7 days a week.
I love it.
You already know. Oh, I love it.
So if we wanted to do like a tarot reading, could we gear it towards like relationships and compatibility, or is tarot like
I
only for your
don't know
life?
about compatibility, but you can do like love specific readings. Yeah. There's a ton of different spreads with tarot. So like each spread can kind of answer different questions. And then like just even kind of what you're thinking about when like if you're, because you know when you shuffle the deck you can think about a question, so like if you really like want to think about relationships or love, just like kind of channel that energy when you're shuffling or like when you're going into the reading, but like have that in mind. But you could use it as a tool for like relationships too, for sure. We don't need to talk about mine.
I honestly though, it's nice that you guys...
want to? You want to know?
Yeah, I do want to know.
I am a Aries sun, a Capricorn moon, which is said by some folks in astrology world one of the hardest moon signs to have, because Capricorn moons do not do well with emotions.
Hey!
Scorpio rising, and then I am an Aries Venus, a Cancer Mars, and a Pisces Mercury.
It's interesting because you said you in your Mars that you are like an emotional person, but then your moon is that you struggle with emotion.
Yeah. So my chart, I feel like, has a lot of conflicts in it, which I really feel.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like you're leaning into something and then you like get pulled out of it because of some other aspect?
I just feel like, I mean, I struggle with the emotional aspect. I struggle with emotions. I've worked on that for a long time, but I don't know. I just feel like I always feel like I have kind of like an internal conflict, like, and it kind of shows up for me in like terms of like indecision. It's like, well, I could do this, but I could also do this. Like, which do I want it to be? I think even like in the way I dress too, like very much like, but I enjoy to express it in my style.
As you're changing your outfit.
No, like in the way of like, okay, so like my tattoos are really dark and like kind of harsh. So like because of that, I love to dress really girly sometimes. And I like the contrast. I like things that are like, that doesn't seem like it should go together. But I like trying to make it work.
The two different sides of the spectrum coming together in one spot. I see that.
I love it.
Sorry,
I think I should be the one sighing. You just did all this work. How do you feel?
Yeah.
Good. Tired.
Yeah, definitely.
I was gonna say, yeah.
My
does
little
that
brain
take
was
like
going.
a toll on you doing this for people?
You know what? So funny enough, like I had my tarot cards read before the day that I had my dinner party, or the day before my dinner party, I had my tarot cards read. And she said to me, because she's a woman who read them, like reads for a living, and she was like, make sure you like rest up, whatever, it'll take a lot of energy. And because of how many people I was doing. But honestly, I felt like so energized and not tired after that. I think that the astrology stuff is a little bit harder for me because I'm not as comfortable with it. But when I do have the time to like sit down and actually like read into it and like remind myself like, oh wait, you do know this, and I remember how much I enjoy it. So yeah, it takes energy, but it's like also enjoyable.
Yeah.
I love a
challenge.
challenge.
You doing it. This was so nice.
Yeah, it really was. And for you to take the time to like look up our shit and like want to do it like right is so nice. You already like, you're a very confident person, but I can see how like in the middle of it you're like, wait, I don't know. It's like what do you call that, imposter syndrome sometimes, where you're like, I don't know if I can speak on that. But for you to be like owning it and saying it, and I just love that, and I love you. So
Thank you.
And now everyone knows who you are. Everyone, all 50 million of our listeners know who you are. So
Hailey with the hair.
Hailey with the hair. Do you want people to like find you, or do you just want to be Hailey on the podcast?
They can find me.
Okay, how can they find you?
Oh, on Instagram. On occasion. I disappear a lot on IG, but it's Lil Hail.
Lil Hail.
Lil _ Hail _ I believe.
Okay.
That's perfect. On Hinge, if you're cute.
Change your location to San Diego and put the radius
if we're compatible.
5 miles.
Yeah.
Because she ain't driving. Well, I'm speaking for you, but
no, I literally have it at like 2 miles. Can I walk to your house?
Oh, no.
Honestly, those are the things that are like, are we compatible in the beginning?
Yeah,
It's like,
seriously. For real.
Where are you located? But you know where to find us. Polite as Fuck Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And leave us a rating for 5 stars.
Yeah, the good
Nothing
one.
else.
Yeah.
5 only.
5 only, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week, guys.
Bye.